We assume that a firm's objective is to maximize profits. Profits is the total revenue received from selling the product minus the total cost of producing the product. Or you can say that profits is equal to total revenue minus total costs. Total revenue generated from a product is the price per unit multiplied by the quantity that the firm sells at that price. So total revenue could be price of the product times quantity sold at that price. This table shows an example of calculating total revenue using 3 different prices. We can see that at any given quantity, higher prices will result in higher revenues. Similarly, at any given price, total revenue increases when the quantity sold increases. Note that in a competitive market, the increase in revenue brought about by selling one more unit of the good is equal to the price of the good. Total cost is the sum of the fixed costs and the variable costs of production. This includes all costs such as salaries, rent, material costs, business permits, etc. In economics, the total cost should also include all opportunity costs. Short run is a period of time where at least one input is fixed and other inputs are allowed to vary. In our analysis, we usually allow the labor input to vary and capital input to stay fixed in the short run. Long run is a period long enough for all inputs, both capital and labor, to vary. For this chapter, our analysis revolves around short-run decision-making. Production function is a relationship that shows the quantity of output for any given amount of input. This figure shows a hypothetical short-run production function relating the input used and the corresponding output. Since this is in the short run, capital is an input, but is fixed, kept constant. Marginal product of labor is the change in the production due to a 1 unit increase in labor input holding the capital input constant. Diminishing marginal returns to labor is a situation which the increase in output due to a 1 unit increase in labor declines with increasing labor input, again holding the capital input constant. From this figure, the marginal product of labor is the slope of the production function. Diminishing marginal returns to labor is illustrated in figure 6.3 as the flatter slope of the production function as the hours of work increase. Diminishing returns to labor occurs in the short run because increases in the labor input, holding the capital or other inputs constant, will result in a smaller share of the capital input per every worker. As a result, the additional worker will contribute less and less as more and more workers are hired. Fixed costs are costs of production that do not depend on the quantity of production. These are costs associated with the fixed input. Variable costs are costs of production that vary with the quantity of production. These are costs associated with the variable input. This table shows the relationship between the cost of production and the quantity of pumpkin produced. In order to increase the number of crates produced, the firm must hire more workers, resulting in an increase in the total cost of production. The table also shows how total costs are calculated. An example, by adding the fixed costs and the variable costs at every level of production. Marginal cost is the change in the total cost due to a 1 unit change in the quantity produced. This table shows how marginal cost is calculated. Note that in the table, the rising marginal cost is due to the diminishing marginal product of labor. If the additional output from hiring one worker is declining and the cost of hiring the worker is constant, then the marginal cost of producing one more unit must be rising. One thing we will show later is that the firm's supply curve is derived directly from its marginal cost curve. With dollars costs on the y-axis and the quantity of crates produced on the x-axis, we can plot the total cost curve using the first two columns of Table 6.3. Similarly, we can also plot the marginal cost of producing pumpkins using the first and the last column in Table 6.3. This shows or illustrates the total cost curve, while this illustrates or shows the marginal cost curve. Profit maximization is an assumption that firms try to achieve the highest possible level of profits, which are total revenues minus total costs, given their production function. This table shows the profits of the pumpkin firm, calculated from 3 different prices for a crate of pumpkins.